everyone, this is Mindy Eggen for Tailored Expressions, and today I'm going to create some seed packet shakers using the Seeds and Such card kit. So the supplies I'm using today is the Seeds and Such vegetable clear stamp and coordinating die, Petite Packet Die, Seeds and Such background stamp and coordinating die. There are also some of these really cute envelope seals that I won't be using, but they were cute and I needed to show you that. And then we also have the stencil that I will be using. For cardstock, I have Sugarcube, Plum Punch, Lime Zest, watermelon, candy corn, and then also some acetate not shown. Now for ink colors, I have cinnamon, toffee, plum punch, dill pickle, lime zest, dragon fruit, guava, jalapeno, pumpkin, candy corn, mulled wine, and Versafine Clair. The tools that I will be using is the reverse tweezers, a bone folder, a die pick, scissors, white gel pen, my Glassboard Buddy with my glass board, and then the regular and the mini Misti. I have thin foam squares, double-sided adhesive, foam sticky strips, barely arts glue, and my repositionable tape for adhesive, plus some silver holographic stars and ice cubes. For blending, I will be using my detail blending brushes and my bitty blending brushes. I'm going to start by doing my stenciling. So I have a piece of Sugarcube cardstock cut to 5.5 by 8.5. I'm sticking this down to my work surface using repositionable tape, and then I'm going to bring out these stencils. So there are 6 stencils to create our 4 images, and they are labeled as in A1, A2, and A3, and then B1, B2, and B3. I tacked down the first layer of the stencil. This happens to be B1, just using some post-it tape. And I'm going to start by using a bitty blending brush with a guava ink to give my tomatoes the base layer. Then I'm going to come in around the outside edges with mulled wine and a detail blending brush. I'll move over to the right hand side to do my carrots again using a bitty blending brush. And this time I'm starting with candy corn for the base layer of my carrots. And then I'm going to add the dimension with a detail blending brush and pumpkin ink, going around the outer edges at first. But then I'm going to bring in a post it note to kind of mask off the other carrots. So that way I can get that darker color going all the way around each side of the carrot. So I will just shift my post-it note to cover up the other side of the carrots and do that same thing and repeat that step for that center carrot to get all of the edges darkened and really make that carrot look dimensional. Then I can peel away my stencil and I'm going to bring in B2, which is the second layer for this particular set. This is going to give us our greenery. I'm starting with lime zest ink going over the greenery for both the tomato and the carrots. Next, I'll come in with jalapeno ink and my detail blending brush, and I'm going to add that to just one side of each of the pieces of greenery. I can remove that stencil, bring in B3 to complete our images. This is adding some fun detail to our vegetables. So I'm using pumpkin once again with a heavy hand to add the details to the carrots. And then I will bring in jalapeno for the leaf. But for the areas on the tomato, I'm actually going to go over those stenciled areas with a white gel pen to add highlights to my tomatoes. And just to make it consistent, I'm going to add some highlights to my carrots, but I forgot to do it to the other 2 vegetables. So the other 2 vegetables are on stencil A, and that's going to be A1 that I placed down first. It is going to be these peas and a radish. I'm starting with a lime zest for the base layer of my peas. And then for the radish, I started with guava, kind of going heavier handed at the top and getting lighter as we got down to the bottom. I'm still going to leave this stencil in place and come in at the very top with dragon fruit and then top it with plum punch, which I think turned out to be a beautiful combination for my radish. Next, I'm going to come in with stencil A2. So this is going to add our greenery to our radish and also the peas to our pea pod. Again, I started out with lime zest, going a little heavier handed, and then I'm going to come in with dill pickle and add a little bit of that darker or shadow area. For my radish or turnip, if that's what you would like to do, I did lime zest at first and then dill pickle starting towards the bottom of the greenery and letting that blend out. Then A3 of our layering stencil, I'm going to start with dill pickle to add the details to the top. And then I'm going to also add that over to our peas. So it's going to give that shadow inside of our pea pod. And for the details on the radish, I am going to use plum punch. Then I'm going to bring in the coordinating dies for each of the images. I will hold them each in place with a low tack tape and run these through my die cut machine. Next, I'll work on creating my actual seed packet. This is the Seeds and Such background stamp. It's a red rubber stamp, so I removed the foam insert to my Misti. I have a Sugarcube cardstock placed down in the bottom of my Misti tool, and I'm going to ink this up with Toffee ink. So it's going to stamp us two fronts in one stamp. I did do another one off screen, and then I'm going to line up the coordinating die and run that through the die cut machine. So the coordinating die for this, I did not cut mine apart. And what that did is left it in perfect placement. So I am creating these windows that I can turn into shakers. If you cut yours apart, which you absolutely can, it's just going to be able to let you do those pieces individually. Now I'm going to use the Seeds and Such clear stamp set. So I am going to title all of my seed packets with the coordinating image. I'm stamping all of these in Versafine clear ink. Now, for each of them, I did do their name, but I'm going to stamp this additional sentiment underneath. This is the Sunshine Seed Company. So I am adding that under each one to keep that consistent throughout all of my seed packets. On that stamp set, there's some additional sentiments. There's also banners that you could stamp out. And there is this little cents. So it adds kind of a value to your seed packet. I am going to do the 5 cents that I am inking up in cinnamon ink. Now I can work on actually creating the shaker element for each of these packets. I'm going to line the back of each of those panels with a double-sided adhesive. I'm going to go all the way around the back. I did already go ahead and pre-cut some acetate, and I trimmed that to be about 2 3/4 by 4 inches. So you want to make sure you go all the way around with your double-sided tape and then place your acetate over the top of the exposed adhesive. I will do that so I have all four pieces have that acetate window to be able to create our shaker element. Now I did also cut Sugarcube cardstock. That's that same size, so 2 3/4 by 4 inches. To create our shaker, you are going to need to create a well. So what you'll do is take some foam strips and you're going to go all the way around the edge of your panel on the back. When you are taking the foam strips, you want to make sure they are butted up right next to each other. So that way, when the recipient shakes the packet, none of the pieces will fall out. Then I'll add one more strip down at the bottom just to add stability to the bottom of the shaker panel. Then I'm going to take these silver holographic stars and I am going to sprinkle some of these inside of my shaker well. You want to make sure that they are spread out. So I like to give it just a small shake. And then I'm also adding in some of the ice cube bits and pieces. I'll remove the backing of those foam strips, making sure not to bump anything so my shaker bits don't kind of get onto my exposed adhesive. And then I can place that white panel over the top. And now I have my shaker pocket. So those ice cubes kind of add that fun seed shaker sound. And then the holographic stars kind of actually stick to the acetate. It just makes for a really fun background for our packets. I added thin foam squares behind each of my vegetables and I'm going to place them on top of the acetate on their corresponding seed packet. Now I'm going to create the actual little pocket. So this is going to be using the Petite Packet Die. I have watermelon, candy corn, lime zest, and plum punch to match all of my seed packets. And these are cut to 6 inches by 8.5. You are going to need 6 inches to be able to fit our Petite Packet Die. So I will run these through my die cut machine to create all four of them. The die provides a scored line, so I'm going to fold along each of those scored lines and reinforce that fold with my bone folder. Now I'm going to seal mine up, so I'm adding just a line of liquid glue on one side of the flap, and I'm going to hold that down, and then I'm going to add a line of liquid glue down at my bottom flap to seal that up. So I'll usually hold that for about 30 seconds or so until the glue is tacky and sticks together. And just make sure you don't overdo your liquid glue and actually seal your envelope. I'm going to use that double sided adhesive tape. I'm going to place that on the back of my shaker panel and then place this on the top of that envelope. And it makes just the cutest seed packet. And you can tuck a little note or even some flat candy inside. So you could place a note in there, maybe put a little pull tab at the top so they know that they can pull something out. You could seal the envelope if you have any stickers, you could seal it shut. And I think it just makes a really fun, cute, interactive card. I went through and did that for each of them. So they all have been adhered the same way. And then using that double sided adhesive tape to attach my shaker panel to the front. So I did the carrot, my peas, and then the radish on the plum punch cardstock. I did want to add a little note kind of tucked inside of the envelope. So I am going to use that Seeds and Such clear stamp set. And there are some really cute sentiments on there. There is also a die on the Petite Packet die set that cuts out this rectangle that fits perfectly inside of the envelope. There's also a scalloped piece. So if you wanted to add that to a scalloped piece, you could as well. I'm just going to stamp each of these sentiments on that little rectangle cardstock that's going to tuck inside of the envelope. So I really probably should have added something that let them know that there's something inside of there to open up the envelope and pull out that note. I can sign it. I can add a custom message to it. I'm just going to tuck those in there. And if they happen to look inside, I think it would be a really fun surprise. I think just kind of all the interest of it is on the front of those packets and are super cute. I can also see this being used for many holidays for this petite packet die for like Valentine's Day or even Christmas with some letters to Santa. So I think this is going to be a very versatile set. I hope you all enjoyed today's inspiration creating these seed packet shakers, which are now available over at tailoredexpressions.com.